obviously as board gamers, we love hearing about all the new games. We are obsessed with new games. All we want to hear about is the new games. And I feel like very rarely or not often enough do we go back and talk about older titles. Because there are some fantastic older titles that are within the board gaming industry. And too often they just get swept to the side for like the new shiny object, right?
Yeah, especially if you're like only recently entering the board game hobby.
Yes. There's a lot of older titles that you probably are not even aware of that exist.
They're just, those like hidden gems that are waiting to be uncovered.
Yes, exactly. So that is what we're going to kind of be chatting about today. We're going to talk about 3 older titles that we have been loving lately and we've been playing a lot of. Okay, Jamie needs water. What's that?
Okay, I feel you, Jamie. That's why I got my water right here.
I think we forgot to introduce ourselves. So I'm Carly.
And I'm Kim.
And join us today as we chat about these kind of 3 really hidden gems. I guess they're not hidden gems. They're pretty popular games, but they're really good games that should be talked about more often. Okay, so we decided to go in alphabetical order here. So the very first game that we're going to talk about is Blood Rage.
Yeah, and maybe this one's not a hidden gem, but if you haven't played it yet, then you need to change that.
Stop watching this video and go play this game. So Kim, do you want to explain a little bit about what Blood Rage is?
Yeah, so in Blood Rage, you get to take a hold of like a Viking clan, and you are battling it out with potentially 3 other players. So it's a 2 to 4 player game. You're battling out with other players. It's an area control game. But one of the things that makes it, I think, unique is that the only winning strategy just isn't in controlling the land or having the most like people in an area. It could also be having the most people who have been killed or sent to Valhalla. And it's just so good.
That's the thing that surprised me the most about this game was how many different, it wasn't just you win by having the most control. There's so many different strategies, and I loved how so part of this game is at the beginning of every round, you're like drafting your cards. And what's kind of interesting is the cards that you're drafting, they all have like titles and names. And if you try to kind of stick to the same god, for example, then those cards kind of tend to mesh together, and that kind of can give you a strategy or a kind of thing to kind of go for that round based on the cards that you have. And yes, sometimes that strategy can be trying to die, trying to kill your people the most, or it could be trying to maintain control, or it could be trying to get certain control of monsters or something. Like there's so many different ways to go about winning in this game, which makes it so interesting every single time you table it.
The variability is so good, because I mean, like, even if you are using like the same set of cards, you'll see the same set of cards every time, but because you're drafting and you get to kind of pick and choose, and you can play as the different clans, and each of the different clans have different things that they do too, right?
Yes. Yeah. As the game goes on, the board is actually slowly blowing up.
Oh,
right?
yes.
So parts of the board are slowly becoming unavailable, and if you leave people there and it blows up, then they all die. And sometimes that can be a strategy again that you're going for, is you want to maybe stalk your people where it's going to blow up, because they will like die a glorious death, right? in the explosion. It is such a fascinating game, and the very first time I played it, it really struck me. I was like, okay, this is why this game is so popular.
Yes.
And this is like, it makes so much sense as to why this is the most popular of this series. Because if you're not aware, so Blood Rage is actually kind of like in a series. So it's Blood Rage, Ankh, and then Rising Sun. Ankh is like an Egypt version, and then Rising Sun is a Chinese, I believe. I think it's Chinese, either Chinese or Japanese. I think it is Chinese though, version. And they're all kind of area control in their own right. But Blood Rage is by far the most popular, and it's the one that's definitely stood the test of time, and I love this game. Kim, this is Kim's copy. I've been so close to getting my own, like, so many times. I just need to do it.
I like area control, But I also get super like intimidated and nervous about the idea of like going to attack people or people attacking me. There's just something about confrontation.
Oh, Beckham turned off the light. One moment.
But there's something so fun and satisfying about being able to be like, you know what? It's okay if I get killed because because of the even if I realize a ton of my people have like are being killed off, I'm like, okay, I have this quest that I can play that allows me to get points for having that many people in Valhalla or who get killed by Ragnarok, or being able to like when two other players are battling it out, I can just decide to like, if I'm near them, I can decide last minute, I'm gonna join the battle, even though I have no chance of winning because I don't need to. It's just,
it doesn't feel super confrontational because I feel like some games you like are slowly building up your army and you can like see like 15 million people that are coming at you, but in this game there's like very designated spots, like you can only put so many people in a certain location, and I think that also kind of ties into like it doesn't feel super confrontational. You see there's a huge army that's like rearing up to come get you, and I don't know, because of the different strategies you can kind of like pivot a little bit. It's just such an approachable area control game. I don't know, I am obsessed with it.
I give it a 10 out of 10.
Okay, so you give it a 10 out of 10. I'm so close to giving it a 10 out of 10. I honestly, I will give it for sure a 9 out of 10. I don't know, maybe 9.5. I'm like 9.5. Honestly, like when I think about how much I love this game, it does, like, I'm trying to think of like anything negative. Like, do you have any like negatives? I genuinely don't.
Negative. My only thing would be like the female Viking, but you know what? That's a pro for some people. That's a pro for some. So, I mean, why not, I guess.
The gameplay is honestly just so good. Like, this is easily a 9 out of 10. Or 9.5 out of 10 game for me. I love it. Yeah. I'm obsessed with it.
I always have fun. I love the miniatures.
I always want to play it.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Done for playing it every time. I love that. It can be mixed up. It's just so fun.
Please go check it out because it will not disappoint you if you like area control games.
And Vikings
and
miniatures and having
all the good stuff. If you just like good stuff in your games,
drafting,
try it. Yeah. All right, so the next one on this list is Genotype. Oh, I forgot to say when Blood Rage was out.
I thought I said 2015.
Oh, did you?
But maybe I didn't.
Okay, if we don't, I'll put this in. Blood Rage is 2015. Genotype is 2022?
2021, I'm pretty sure.
2021? We'll double check this.
2021, yes.
2021, okay. So Genotype was released in 2021, and Genotype actually was sent over by Genius Games for us to kind of share our thoughts on. And honestly, so I had heard a lot about Genotype for a while. I'd heard a lot about it, but the theme always kind of drew me back. So essentially in Genotype, you are basically playing as a knight. Is it a certain time of period? Gregor, you're trying to help Gregor Mendel test his oh my goodness, how do you say that word? Paradigm, thank you. Shifting hypothesis in genotype. So you're basically kind of performing experiments on peas, trying to like get certain genetics to kind of like work through stuff. And again, I'd heard so much good things about it, but that theme, I was like, peas? Like that has
We're growing pea plants?
We're growing pea plants? Like that has like zero interest.
Genetics?
Yeah, genetics.
In a board game?
In a board game? Like I had really like less than zero interest just in regards to the theme. So when Genius Games offered to send it over, I was like, you know what? Sure. Like let's go ahead. Let's try it. Because I'd heard a lot of good things about it. I opened it up and I started learning it. And honestly, while I was learning it, I just had like, sometimes you just have those thoughts come to you when you're learning a game and you're like, okay, this is one I'm going to like.
Yes. Yep.
I immediately had that thought when I started playing this game, is I was like, yes, like this is one that I'm going to love. And so in this game, what you are doing is you have little workers. And so it is essentially a worker placement game. So you kind of have like a worker placement phase, and then dice will roll. And then you are basically assigning where those dice you're assigning those dice onto certain rows that basically will activate and kind of show what genes are kind of coming and kind of mutating through your like scientific research. Something about it just like scratches like that itch in my brain of like what I want from a worker placement game, and it is I was blown away at how much I loved it, even with the theme. And I'm still like about the theme, but after playing the game, I kind of like it even a little bit more. It's like, it kind of like made me interested actually like in learning kind of more about the theme.
The theme comes through like very strongly.
It comes
actually.
through way strongly.
I mean, the theme comes through in the mechanics. The game is not just like, here's the theme and then here are the mechanics and we're just gonna like bunch them together. They actually like marry together very well. Especially when you're manipulating the dice, you actually feel like you're kind of changing up the genetics and getting like the uppercase R and lowercase R and then putting it together with the 2 lowercase R's, or like you can change the dice to represent those different genes and get those different plants because of it.
The gameplay was just so satisfying for me, and I just loved the worker placement phase, and then you would go on to like the dice rolling phase, and I don't know, just the way you're able, just to manipulate the genes and try to kind of sway things in your favor and trying to get the certain plants that are probably going to benefit you the most from most likely like the genes that are going to be rolled. You didn't like it as much as I did.
I did not love this game.
Yeah.
I like this game. I enjoy this game. I found it very charming. I actually like surprisingly liked, I have to like look at it. I felt like the table presence of the game was really like lovely, and I liked the artwork, but it wasn't something that like, it didn't like scratch the itch for me. To me, it's just like another worker placement game, which I'm happy to play with you if you love it, like Harley, and I had like a fun time playing it, but it didn't like stand out except for in the way that the theme marries together. I like want to open it up.
Go ahead, open it up.
I'm so tactile.
I know, I am too. I like actually seeing things.
I like to be able to, because I like, there's something in my brain that I know I wanted to like mention that I liked about one of the other things I liked about the game. One of the things that I did find, the player I think I also liked, for a worker placement game, there was actually quite a bit of like,
there was a
player
lot of
interaction and things that happen, like the things that you do that affect other players, which I guess, happens in worker placement games, because if someone places somewhere where you want to go, then you can't go there.
Yes.
But in this game, I had to look at the board, sorry, to be able to talk about it. In this game, like specifically, if you go like over to like the research upgrades, the price changes for how you want to do things.
So like it's slowly kind of getting more expensive.
Gets more expensive, and then especially when you are doing the genes and changing the dice. Like you might think that you're all set up to have like one of your cards fulfilled because of the way that the dice are manipulated, but if another player goes there and ends up changing, it can totally change what you're expecting to do and be like, oh, I guess I'm not gonna be able to score that one this time around. So that was another thing that I liked that maybe did stand out to me about compared to like other worker placement games.
So having said that, I personally would rate Genotype an 8.5. This one really exceeded my expectations. I'm super happy to have this game. I don't know if I would pull this game off the table for everyone necessarily, because I think the theme is going to be kind of a little bit of a barrier to entry. I definitely think it is worth trying, even just to kind of experience it and kind of experience that kind of interaction that it brings to the table personally. He's like eating your face.
And I personally, initially, like after playing it, I saw somewhere between like a 6.5 and a 7 with the game. I think just a little bit lower than a 7 because it's not the kind of game that I feel like I need to like add to my collection and share with other people. If that makes sense. But I'm happy for you to share it with me.
Yes, it like fits that niche for you.
Yes, that's where it falls for me.
This game makes me super happy. Like it really pleasantly surprised me. So that's why it's at that like 8.5 level. All right, so those were our thoughts on Genotype. And the final game that we're going to be chatting about today is Iki. So Iki was one that was also produced in 2015, just like Blood Rage. And it is actually, it's produced by Sorry We Are French, but it was sent to us by Hachette. In Iki, you are playing basically in, is it 18th century Japan.
1603 to 1868.
There you go. Yep. So you're basically hiring workers and kind of filling up shops within this kind of central marketplace.
Yeah.
And you have little kind of workers, and you're basically going up and down this street, visiting shops, and trying to purchase items, trying to sell items, all in the hopes of trying to essentially get the most points. This was one that I have been really interested in for a long time, kind of like Genotype, but I was definitely more interested in the theme of this one. I loved the idea of filling up, kind of having like empty stalls, filling them up with shops that obviously give you abilities that then you can activate. And then I love the rondelle system. I love the rondelle system to this, that you can go as, you can't go as far forward as you want, but you're constantly going in this loop. So if you miss something, you have to wait till you circle back around again. And so those kind of aspects really kind of were interesting to me, drew me in. So when Hachette offered to send, I was like, oh, yes, please, I'm dying to play it. So this is actually the one that we've broken out the most recently and played it. And I really, really liked this one. Maybe I should open up this one too. I'm very tactile as well. So something that I really liked thematically is that the game moves through basically an entire year. And so as you move through the year, you're actually moving through the seasons. And so every time you enter into a new season, well, you actually have new shop cards that will become available. You have new fish will be on the board, new tobacco and pouches and kind of different stuff that you can purchase and get. I think the thing that impressed me most about this game, though, was there's so many different ways to get points in this game.
Yes.
And there's a lot of different ways, lots of different paths to victory. We've played this game a handful of times, and every single time I play it, I feel like I focused on something different.
After the first time that we played it, I was very surprised because just by looking at it or just hearing the rules, I don't feel like you get a good grasp of how complex
it's very
this game
complex.
Actually is until we were almost through the game. I'm like, oh man, there is so much more to this game than I realized. Because at the beginning, I'm just I'm going around and I'm stopping at the shops and I'm doing these things and maybe I'm trying to make buildings and maybe I'm trying to hire workers, and you just realize how much there is to the game.
You definitely have to be thinking multiple steps ahead.
Yes.
You have to be planning out your moves. And you never can do everything. You can't, a big part of the game is fires. Strategically throughout the game, sometimes fires will occur. And when that does, it will burn through shops. And so if you don't have your firepower up to the necessary amount that you need to, well, that fire is going to burn and eat through your shop. And so trying to get your fire and constantly be aware of your fire. Also trying to be aware of constantly trying to feed your workers so they don't die, trying to collect your fish, trying to, there's just a lot you have to manage in a very short amount of time.
So we've mentioned there's so many different ways to get points in this game, and there is the point track that you follow along up here, but not everything is scored up here. So you also don't know how many points, unless you're I guess, I don't know, super have the ability to look at everyone's and be okay, they have that many points. I wouldn't know how many points Carly has by looking at this. I don't have that ability.
The top of the board kind of gives you an idea, but really you can be holding on to so many points on your board. At the end of it, you can just totally shoot up.
And because that's why I guess what I was trying to say, maybe I didn't say it very well, is you're looking at the points and I would think, oh, they look like they're a lot, they're super ahead of me, or this person's super ahead of that player. But at the end of the game, all the scorers ended up being relatively close, and they were all through different methods of gaining points. So there's the fish collection, there's the tobacco that gives you points.
Then your cards. You have cards or buildings that you can build that give you end game points or points based off how many fish you have or how many stalls you've got. There's a lot of different things that goes into it.
It made the end of the game a little bit suspenseful.
Another part that I just loved in this game was the shops and how important placement was. Because where you place your workers, again, if you're being really smart and strategic, you really can bounce multiple abilities off each other and make certain locations really valuable. And you really want to be purchasing shops that are valuable to other players, because you want other people to visit your shop, because when people visit your shop, that basically increases your knowledge, or I forget what it's officially called, and so eventually you want to retire these cards, because the more you retire, the more powerful you become. And so you want to be making your shops valuable for other people. Yes, honey.
What game made me feel similarly after like the first time I played it? And that this game is nothing like this game, but the game that came to my mind is Seven Wonders. Like after I played Seven Wonders, I just like, I have to solve this game.
Like you need to play it again.
Yeah, like I need to play it again. I need to solve it because there's so many ways to like strategize and earn points. I actually felt like Carly might not agree with me here. I do think it plays best at 4 players, but I do think that the 2-player side adapts pretty well. I would be happy to play it as 2 players too, because then I'm still exploring I'm still having that same experience of exploring the things that need to happen. Maybe there's not as many shops to be able to choose from, and maybe a slightly less player interaction when it comes to like the first player thing, but it's still like I enjoyed playing it at either count.
Okay, so I am going to disagree a little bit with you on this. I do think it plays fine with 2.
Yeah.
I just remember feeling really disappointed, because the very first game I played of this, I was like, after reading through the rules, I remember texting you, I was like, we really need to play this at 4. I think this is just going to be a game that plays best at that max player count, which I normally don't think. But we sat down and played with 4, and I just loved the constant interaction. Like there were constantly new shops coming into play, constantly trying, I don't know, I just felt like the tension and the push and pull between all the players around the table. Like that's where this game sings for me personally. I think 2 is fine, and if I'm like itching to play this game and I only have 2 players, yes, I would play it at 2. But it's not one that I think, and it's hard because I do think it does a good job of like the scaling and everything with 2. I personally think this game shines best at 3 to 4.
I think like if you're the kind of person that like wants to feel like you can do everything and it's gonna feel like frustrating or punishing that you're not gonna be able to like do everything, then this game might frustrate you a little bit, because like I full on was like, I'm not gonna protect. I just gave up on the fire.
You gave up on fire.
I was like, all right, I'm just going to have no ability to fight fires, and I'm going to focus on other things. And like as punishing as the game felt at times, there are things that I feel like it does do to like kind of give you that like that push, because as you're growing, it alleviates some of those things that like the struggles that you have at the beginning. Yes. One of the other things that I like really liked about this game, and it's a little silly but like makes me happy, we talked about the rondelle system and like going on the path. For me, it was so satisfying, and I have to pull up my meeple. It was just very satisfying to have this big person. It was the big ones that we used, right?
Yep.
This cute little big person, and I just get to like make them travel around the path.
I loved walking, just like walking around the path.
I'm just like boop, 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 boop. I don't know, like it actually kind of felt, thematically, it actually kind of felt like, ooh, I'm walking around town, and I'm gonna stop at this shop, and I'm gonna get these things. I don't know. It's silly, but
I liked it.
It made my heart feel happy.
I liked that sometimes, especially like if it's your own shop and you purchase a shop, for example, and you realize that it's just kind of like eating up space, and most likely like you can easily just like not feed your workers, and so they die, which is sad, but then it like reopens up a spot. So it's not like if there's a shop that's not doing well or people aren't utilizing, it just is going to be wasted space for you, and you're just holding on to that for the rest of the game, and it's just going to be like holding on to a worker. Like you can get rid of those shops, and especially with the fires too that can wipe out potentially an entire shop. Like you're dealing constantly with a moving board.
There's always a way to get every resource except for the wood.
Wood. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Yes, let's talk about that. So inherently, which again, that probably just goes into it's really hard to build buildings. But it was so frustrating when an entire game, because we once played an entire game where literally only one shop came out, which ended up dying.
Yeah.
That generated some sort of wood for you.
Yes.
And so literally we just had no option. Like we had no ability to build any sort of buildings in the game, which was kind of frustrating because you saw the buildings at the top of the board and you're like, I want to build those, but there's literally no possible way for us to do that in our game. And that was frustrating.
Available.
Yeah.
So I had like really wished like one of these like permanent abilities would be, even if it was like super expensive, like just some option so that it's at least always
attainable
to you, because everything else is attainable to some degree, but that was the one resource that was just like super rare. And I'm like, what if it never
well, literally it only came out once during one of our games, and then the shop died, or the fire, something happened with the shop, and then another shop literally never came out that offered wood throughout the game. So we just literally had no option. There was no way to get wood.
So that was my biggest frustration.
So what would you rate Iki?
I'm coming in at a 7.5.
Okay.
I think it's a solid game. It's great. It's fun. And I give it that like extra like half point because of that. I have to figure it out. I have to figure out the puzzle. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. It really surprised me. I enjoyed it, like the complexity and the puzzle and the different the tension of the like having to manage the different things, and I enjoy that whole aspect of like, what do I need to sacrifice so that I can gain.
So for my rating for Iki, I'm giving it an 8. It possibly could even go up to an 8.5. Like I could see this becoming an 8.5 game for me, but kind of with the caveat is for me that's like at 3 to 4 players. I think 2 players, I do think it is a weaker game. I don't think it's weak. I just think it's not as strong as it could be. But overall, I love the puzzle. I love the tension that it added with everybody. I love how the shop, you're dealing with a board that shops are constantly changing. You're kind of dealing with different abilities. Like I really thought I would like this game, and then after playing it, I was like, yes, I love this game. So yeah, I think it's definitely a solid 8 with the potential to get a little bit higher with more plays. All right, so those were our thoughts on kind of 3 older title games that we have been able to play a lot recently and have been really enjoying. I want to play all these games right now.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Let's just start. Let's just break it open.
Yeah, let's just do it all.
Comment down below if you like kind of this new style of game or style of reviews that we're doing. I think it's kind of a good way to highlight kind of older games and talk about older titles.
I agree.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm passionate about lots of older titles.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they need more of a spotlight. Spotlight on older titles. Thank you so much for watching this video today. If you enjoyed this video and you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, it means so much if you could do that. It really helps support us in everything that we're doing over here. But until next time, what do I say normally? But until next time, this is what I say. But until next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you later. Beckham, you are going crazy. You are going so crazy.
You're going crazy.
You are crazy, baby.
Squirmy boy.
You're lucky you're cute. You're lucky you're cute. Oh.